Okay, so what's next for the Kirby series? Kirby and the Forgotten Land was released around 1 month ago, and the game was a huge step forward for the Kirby series. So what's next? Forgotten Land was the first mainline 3-dimensional Kirby game. So is the next Kirby game gonna be 4-dimensional? And what would that 4th dimension even be? Or are we going to go back to 2D Kirby games? In this video, I'll be talking all about the future of the Kirby series. Let's begin. So to answer one of the questions that I asked in the intro, and this might be a huge surprise to some of you, the next Kirby game probably won't be 4-dimensional. But the other question I asked in the intro was, are we going to go back to 2D Kirby games? This is a really interesting question, as Forgotten Land is well on track to be the best-selling Kirby game of all time, and in turn, the game has introduced lots of new people to the Kirby series. So if the Kirby series goes from Forgotten Land, which is a huge step forward for the Kirby series, and we go straight back to a more simple 2D Kirby game, that just wouldn't be very smart, as all the new players that were introduced to the Kirby series through Forgotten Land will probably be disinterested in a 2D game, but that's just what I think. I don't actually know, as it hasn't happened yet. This is just speculation. So I reckon that the next mainline Kirby games are going to be in 3D. But what about these spin-off Kirby games? Now, I'm not gonna lie, these spin-off Kirby games on the Switch have been pretty weak. The two spin-off Kirby games are Kirby Fighters 2 and Super Kirby Clash. Kirby Fighters 2 is kinda just Smash Bros but Kirby. Then there's Super Kirby Clash, and in the game you team up with 3 other Kirbys and beat bosses. Super Kirby Clash does get repetitive pretty quickly, but it is a free-to-play game, so I guess you can't really complain. What's interesting though is that both of these games are only available on the eShop. Neither of them can be purchased physically, so there hasn't really been a proper spin-off Kirby game on the Switch, so I 100% believe that the next Kirby game is going to be a proper spin-off game. And when I say proper, I mean a game that releases physically that actually has lots of content. A HD remake of Kirby Air Ride or just a whole nother Kirby Air Ride game is the first thing that comes to mind when talking about Kirby spin-off games. And I think there is a good chance that we could see a Kirby Air Ride game on the Switch, whether that's a port or a new game. Now, Pokemon Snap was released last year, and the game was a sequel to Pokemon Snap, which was a spin-off Pokemon game that released in 1999 on the Nintendo 64. So if Pokemon Snap can randomly get a sequel, I don't see why Kirby Air Ride can't. So seeing as Forgotten Land has boosted the popularity of the Kirby series to an all-time high, it would make sense for Nintendo to capitalize on the current popularity of the Kirby series by releasing another Kirby game. And if Nintendo choose the next Kirby game to be a new Kirby Air Ride, whether that's a port or a sequel, it would be less work for them, as the premise of a Kirby Air Ride already exists, so creatively speaking, they wouldn't need to do much work. Then on top of this, a Kirby Air Ride is also wanted among fans, and I'm sure Nintendo know this. So to sum up the video, I reckon the next Kirby game is going to be a new Kirby Air Ride game, and that the future mainline Kirby games are going to be in 3D, and the video's done. Bye.